In the vast deserts of the Pacific Ocean, there's no place to hide. Almost no place. Some fish find shelter in flotsam. These tiny young triggerfish inhabit a swimming bamboo hut. On their way through the open ocean, they have seen a lot of astonishing things. Groups of elegant silky sharks and playful dolphins who carefully analyze this lonely traveling sea snake. And just in a couple of days, these triggerfish will meet some guys from Europe who have just arrived in San Jose, Costa Rica.
Closer. Still closer.
No.
Silvestro? Yeah. Fabrice?
Yes.
Ezio?
Yes.
Marcel? Yes.
A shuttle bus takes us from San Jose to Punta Arenas, passing the varying landscapes of Costa Rica, always listening to Rudy, the country's most entertaining tour guide.
But you have to behave because the police here and our jail system is like Jurassic Park. Very bad.
2.5 hours later, this is the port of Punta Arenas, home of our liveaboard, the Okeanos Aggressor. And this is Rudy. Finally, after long months of waiting, we have boarded the ship that will take us to famous Cocos Island.
Oh, sorry.
No, perfect.
Still, it's some 1.5 days of sailing to get to the island. It's April, the last month before the rainy season, and it seems to be a good moment for relaxed crossing. The first day of our tour remains very calm, and so does the evening and the following peaceful night. The next morning, no waves, no storm, nothing bad around. While some of us already start to shuffle their feet.
We have to wait for these 2 days, and that's very long. I can't wait, I need to dive now. So let's go.
Then, in late afternoon, this map of Cocos becomes reality when the mystic island appears magically out of the mist. And it's much bigger than expected.
Well, it's bigger than I thought. We can say that.
Yeah.
I know it's 4 miles or something, but it's in sight it's bigger. But it's beautiful, and it's good seeing these birds flying around, seeing what they're up to. It's great.
Looks like nature.
It does look like nature, real nature. So it's beautiful.
In the end, the crossing took 31 hours, something like a new record for the Okeanos Aggressor. Yes, Cocos Island deserves its reputation for being a beautiful place. It's the only island in the Eastern Pacific Ocean that is covered by tropic rainforest. And very soon we start diving. The first dives will take place next to our mooring in Chatham Bay and at the shores of Manuelita Island. Here we are, making contact with Cocos marine life. And as the papers say, you find big stuff everywhere. "300 different species of fish and 57 species of crustaceans can be found in these waters, which in fact doesn't mean a very big biodiversity. But most of these species always appear in huge numbers. Like lobsters do surgeonfish, goatfish, snappers, and of course the well-known white-tip reef sharks. One thing is for sure, white tips can be found on every dive in these waters, literally speaking, in every hole. This frogfish, however, is seldom. He always sits on this rock like a king on his throne. watching all these divers who wait to receive an audience. Manuelita Deep looks rather different. Corals don't live here. Instead, huge volcanic rocks mark this place, hideaways for big marble stingrays, which also seem to be surprisingly common here. Manuelita Deep is famous for hammerhead sharks. We encountered some, but not as many as predicted. It's absolutely remarkable how many predators we met during our first 3 dives at Cocos Island. The ever-present whitetips alone make this place a true island of the sharks. Day 1 at Cocos, the logbook says, success. Big and Small Dos Amigos are the names of 2 small islands located south. Big Dos Amigos is characterized by a huge swim-through, full of schooling fish dozing in the shadows. But even more interesting, a group of resident eagle rays live in this tunnel. While these fish are normally regarded to be more pelagic animals, some of them apparently seem to like this enclosed place. Maybe because predators using sonar cannot locate them inside. Our second tour into the south takes us to shark fin and submerged rock. But today, Cocos scenery looks pretty different, and really everyone has to cope with that in his own way. As we have known before, Cocos Island is a dynamic place. The weather can change within very few minutes.
It's the first day of rain.
Yes.
Maybe some beasts will show up. I have to check my nitrox.
This time, the ride to the dive site gets a bit choppy. But underwater, close to Sharkfin Rock, the environment is much calmer and much more peaceful. There's no surge and no current, and the dark atmosphere is just terrific. Sharkfin Rock is home of a big colony of marble stingrays. Just lying on the ground, straight under the swirling thermocline. This group must include more than 30 animals. The place also hosts thousands of big-eyed jacks, surrounding our group like a hurricane in slow motion. Not far away from Sharkfin Rock, Submerged Rock shows hundreds of blue-striped snappers. They are residents of this tiny archway. The small tunnel itself applies as a nursery for white-tip reef sharks, and also this species seems to be in danger sometimes. The swim-through is a great place both for filmers and photographers. Submerged Rock offers steep walls, including smaller caves and crevices. This one is a stash for 2 marble stingrays. And like the rays we have seen before, also these ones don't show any anxiety. Also, this resting whitetip stays incredibly cool, even when I get really close to her.
Ready?
Time for a break.
Okay, listen up, please. You want to have a guide who's going to walk you to the waterfall and come back, all right?
Visiting the ranges at Wafer Bay includes a so-called wet landing.
Now we're gonna swim.
Yeah. You first.
Wet landing is a euphemism for they don't have any pier.
I cannot resist, I'm sorry. Silenzio.
Ah, finalmente un po' di silenzio. Su quella barca c'è sempre troppa confusione. Let's see now.
Let's
It's
see.
Paradise or Hell.
Paradise Isle.
Yeah, Paradise or Hell. We'll see.
The station is home of the rangers and their volunteers, and depending on your personal taste, you may call it either cozy or pragmatic. Here we meet Tito, who presents their non-official museum of illegal fishing.
What they do is they attach this to the long lines, and in the other part they attach another line with the hook. We find sharks, hammerheads, turtles, mantas.
For building this bridge, the rangers used confiscated fishing devices. Even though it's a monument of shame, it makes pretty much fun to walk over.
There's some valves along the way. Please don't touch the valves. Please. And I have to say that because a few weeks ago there's a group of tourists that went without any rangers and they opened the valves, and so we have a lot of problem with that.
And now,
Oh, that's cool.
welcome to the jungle of love.
Maglietta? Famosa
Sardinian ways
maglietta.
of sailing.
I'm a teacher of sailing and anche di altro.
Originally, mammoths didn't live here, but treasure hunters brought pigs, goats and rats onto the island.
So this is what the pigs like to eat, this white part of the plant. So a lot of times they uproot these plants to look for the pigs they try to eat.
Hiking this forest might look easy, but in fact it's pretty exhausting. And since the ground is as wet as the air, you need some good shoes.
Yesterday it was the zip, Mrs. Zamonini.
Yeah, today's leapers. Yeah, I fixed it.
But the sound of running water is promising some relief. Now the waterfall cannot be too far away.
You know what? When they say jungle trail, it is a jungle trail. How do you like it?
Yeah, very much. Bagno fantastico.
Awesome!
Yes, awesome.
Superb.
Yes.
Cocos has many incredible dive sites, but Alcyon enjoys a worldwide reputation. Alcyon confronts you with very strong currents. It's one of Cocos' best places for observing scalloped hammerhead sharks. These guys attract the big predators. This type of butterfly fish is also named barberfish, since they clean the bigger animals in their neighborhood. It's their presence which prompts the hammerhead sharks begging for a shave. But this seamount didn't become such a legendary place only because of the cleaning activities. Here, the hammerheads regularly form bigger groups, very often not more than a sudden and short appearance out of the blue. Scuba divers cannot stay very long. After half an hour, this amazing diving experience has to be finished. While Alcyon is located in the open sea, Silverado is a place close to Chatham Bay and is easily accessible. Like Alcyon, also Silverado is a cleaning station, but exclusively for silvertip sharks. This big specimen unfortunately leaves the place at the moment we approach. Well, it has to be spoken out, there's not so much to do when you wait for the sharks. You can check your computer, you can do some pedicure, or take pictures of fish that you normally ignore. This, at least, is a shark, but it doesn't count. This is not a shark, but it counts, nevertheless. But you better don't wait more than 20 minutes, because Silverado offers other species as well. It's Cocos' best place for critters. We don't know his name, but his eyes are beautiful. This is the VIP, the red-lipped batfish, the living fossil of Cocos. It's not very difficult to find him, but difficult to film his face. After all, this fish has red lips and not a red butt.
Crash?
Yeah.
One of Cocos' most fascinating dives is still missing, diving Manuelita Island, but this time at night. Listening to Captain Alberto.
Everybody almost ready? Yeah. What's happening in Manuelita at night? The whitetips get really active and they go hunting. I guess they can see or hear or sense at night. But with the lights, it makes it really easy for the whitetips to get or to catch their prey. And the sharks just go crazy. Sometimes they're like, in one single place, there's like maybe 10 or 20 whitetips trying to get a little fish out of the crevice, out of the rocks. All right? So it should be very exciting. Sometimes the whitetips are around your neck, around your legs. If that kind of scares you a little, turn off your light for a couple of seconds, the whitetips will go away.
The first impression is slightly disappointing, but the second is not. Whitetips are everywhere indeed, presumably hundreds of them. And you don't find any other coral fish now that you've seen during the daytime. Either they have left the place or they hide themselves perfectly between the corals. You see whitetips of every size, very young boys and girls, and big adults as well. When the sharks find prey, even of very small size, the whole pack goes totally wild. On every night dive at Manuelita, you can see at least 2 or 3 of these feeding frenzies. They soon restart their search for prey again, even though this lobster is not endangered. Unlike their calm behavior at daytime, the sharks now never rest at night, poking in every corner of the reef like a bunch of dogs. Until one of them finds some prey again. In the meantime, the swimming bamboo hut has reached the waters of Cocos Island. More and more fish have gathered around the flotsam, attracting more and more sharks as well, who are getting closer and closer. This is our last day of diving, and we don't have any clue what's happening out there in the open ocean. But soon, having left Chatham Bay again, we can figure out that something special is happening below the waves. Hundreds of birds have assembled, diving into the water, catching small fish. No doubt there must be a bait ball below them.
Good boy.
Dozens of silky sharks are around us, and this kind of shark gets close to divers. The sharks manage to round up the fusiliers, which are trapped between the sharks and the surface now. And every shark is now trying to catch a piece of the big cake. Surprisingly, many fusiliers are able to escape this miserable situation, finding a resting place near the flotsam again. And finally, the great moment takes place. The unexpected and accidental meeting in the middle of the ocean. And I guess it's a big surprise for all participants. These triggerfish have found some very safe box seats for watching the big feasts that take place around them. After this brief moment of relief, the big feeding starts all over again. Again, the Fusiliers have been surrounded by predators. This time, however, some yellowfin tuna have joined the feast. And they are much more dynamic than the sharks, making the Fusiliers even more panic. This new bait ball is more intense than the first one we've seen. Silkies and tuna are smashing into the dense cloud of prey. In their panic, the Fusiliers are looking for everything that might work as shelter, including us, the divers. Dive guide Javi and myself are surrounded by Fusiliers like a swarm of bees. It feels like a whole body massage when the fish hit your body, and all these clicking sounds occur when they bang against the video housing. But which way to go now, up or down? Just by intuition, we choose the way to the surface, and luckily the Fusiliers don't follow us. Quite an extraordinary moment, but you don't want to experience this every day.
Yeah. Thank you.
The big feast hasn't stopped yet. The birds are still filling up their stomachs until they are not able to fly anymore. The bait ball is happening right beneath our feet now, right under the Zodiac.
Fucking hell!
Our tour to Cocos Island simply couldn't have a greater finale.